just like tonight. You know you wanna turn up, I can make you feel right all night. Tell me if you feel.
Welcome back to my channel. It's Tia here. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button. Also subscribe down below. But today's video is going to be just like a quick like ranting story time kinda. Don't know when I'm gonna post this, but anyways, so this is just a quick story time about a friend. Basically met this guy in like January and everything, and then we were like friends and everything, and it was cool because like I knew him from like my past. I knew him from like 8th grade, and I was like, oh look, it's like one of my old friends and stuff. And then so like we agreed to go to the movies and everything, and we were hanging out and it was cool. I even met like his like best friends, and I was like, oh, this is cool, blah blah blah. Like I knew that girl too because she was in like my old class in my community college. And then so it's like still January, and then like a couple weeks like after that, like we were like hanging out, and I was like going to his house, and we were just like chilling, doing like normal like friend activities and stuff. And then it's like I don't even remember like when it was at this point. I think sometime in like January, like literally a week later, he was like, oh, you want to be my girlfriend, blah blah. I'm like, dude, I don't even know you like that. And then so it was just like awkward, and like the vibes were weird, and he was being like super clingy, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like I'm normally a clingy person, but then like when someone else is being clingy towards me, I'm kind of like, that ain't gonna work. Like that's kind of weird. And plus like I've been single for like ever, and I'm like, I'm not trying to start nothing, like this is ridiculous. And then he's like, oh okay, that's cool, we can be friends. And then like a week later he's like, so you trying to date though? And I'm like, dude, like what is your problem? Like if someone says like no to like dating, like the answer is no. And then like usually like before you date someone, you're like friends with them for a while, and then like after like a couple months, that's when you like ask them out. But like he was trying to like skip the whole friend process, and I'm like, dude, like that's not how it works, you know? Because like when you get married, you're supposed to marry your best friend, and so like over the years you're supposed to be like friends and everything. And I know like some people like start dating like a week in, and then like they've been married for 10 years, but like I'm not trying to do that. Anyways, like the vibe was just like super awkward, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know you like that. Like you're supposed to get to know someone before you ask them out. And then I was like, he was like, okay, fine, like I'll stop asking. And then like literally 2 weeks later he's like, so, and I'm like, dude, like it's like a turn off when people don't like listen to you. Like get away from me. And then it turns out he was like this like super virgin, like he never did anything before, and he's like 22. And I'm like, kind of not looking for that, you know, because like everyone has like different preferences and like what they would just rather want like going into a relationship. And then so it was like we were like going to get food and stuff, and I was like still going to his house, and then I kept saying like hi to his dad when I came in and stuff, just like normal friend stuff. And then where it starts to get really weird is like Valentine's Day, he like bought me this like giant, like those giant bears that they like have at Walmart. And I think the ones at Walmart are like $40 or something, but then he was saying like the one he got was like $20. And then I go to his house and he's like, oh surprise, it's like a giant bear. And like anyone that knows me knows that I don't like materialistic things that I can't use, because a bear is just gonna like, a bear or like flowers, literally anything like that, is just gonna sit in my room and collect dust. I was like, what am I gonna do with this bear? But of course, like if he had gotten to know me, he would know that I wouldn't want that. And then I was like, why did you get me this? And he was like, oh, I saw you liking stuff on Facebook, so like I'm just gonna, you know, get what you like. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then he showed me the post, and like usually on any social media I'm literally liking any random thing on there. Like my likes don't really mean anything. So he saw that I liked the post. It said something about like, oh, I wish I could get this for Valentine's Day, and it was like a picture of a bear. And like when I'm on Facebook, I'm like, I just go down and I like anything I see. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, of course, if we were actually dating, then sure, that would be like something special. But like we aren't even dating. Like, what the heck? And then so it was just kind of like awkward after that, because I'm like, I can't do anything with this. Like, I like gifts that I can use, like food I can eat that, you know. It's like a memorable thing, because I'll be like, oh, like whenever I eat this food, I'll think of you. Whenever I wear this shirt, I'll think of you. And like I don't like stuffed animals and stuff, because like I'm not a child. I don't know, like some grown-ups have stuffed animals, but that's the whole like bears and stuff, that's not for me. Then it was like, after that, it was like super awkward, because he had to like return the bear, and I felt bad, but at the same time I'm like, you shouldn't have bought that, because we aren't even like dating in the first place. But then it was cool because we got food after that. And then I don't even remember what happened, because this was like months ago. But let's see, January, February, some other stuff happened like in between. And then eventually we kind of had like this talk, and I was like, why are you like this? Like, you're like kind of, it's coming off like desperate that you like want a relationship. And I'm like, why are you like this? Basically showed me this like note in his phone, like every phone, like the iPhones, they have like the notes app or whatever, where you just write a bunch of random stuff. So he showed me this note in his phone. It was basically, I wouldn't say it was like a suicide note or anything like that, but it was just like kind of this long note of like why he is the way he is. And then it basically said like he's been like longing for someone to love him, because he never had that kind of thing during his childhood or whatever. And then something that was really weird that came up, apparently he has this like stepbrother or whatever, that like when they were younger, like the stepbrother made him do things. And then it was like awkward, because I'm like, ew, like that stuff is nasty. Like, you know, like your stepbrother literally belongs in jail and stuff. And then he was saying that he willingly did it to like please his stepbrother, because like everyone wants like their step siblings to like them like when they're younger and stuff. And I was like, that wasn't the way to go, you know. And like that usually, I don't want to say it happens a lot in the black communities and stuff, but it does happen sometimes where like black people just like sweep stuff under the rug, or like they like literally are gay and then they just hide it their whole lives behind like a wife and kids and stuff. So I was like, dude, like you should have been told your family, because like what if your stepbrother made your little sister do this and stuff? And he was like, oh, well, I willingly did it, so it's not like he can go to jail or anything if I agreed to it. And I was like, bruh, that's still like any type of incest is like still wrong, like no matter like on what kind of level like that. And like everything after that was awkward, because like at the end of his little note or whatever, it said like, oh, I still like question my sexuality because of this experience. And I was like, dang, like what the heck? And I was like, when did this happen? Because I'm thinking it happened like during his childhood, because usually like in these cases like the older sibling tends to like take advantage of like the younger ones, or like the creepy uncle and stuff like that. Now I'm there thinking this happened to him when he was like 5 or 6 or something like that. And then he was like, oh, this happened like 3 years ago. And I'm like, so you were 17 and willingly like did stuff with your like stepbrother? I'm like, what the heck? And like I don't even know if that was his age when he did it, but it was like recent, like more recent than I thought. And I was like, oh, like I'm not trying to be with a guy who like still questions his sexuality and stuff like that, because I know like people can be like bi and everything, but still I'm like, bro, like you're more experienced than me when it comes to that. Like I can't do that. So then it was just like awkward after that. Like I really wasn't like into him anymore, and I know like that like sucks to say and everything, but I'm like, I'm not trying to be in a relationship because like I got my own problems, and then you over here got your kind of problems, and like two like damaged people just like don't go together like that. So I was like, why don't we just like stay friends, because it's good to like talk to somebody about this type of stuff, you know, it's good to like vent and let it out. And then so like after that we basically, it's like we kind of started hanging out like less or whatever, and then it was like awkward. I was just kind of getting like these like not necessarily like gay vibes or anything, but it was weird because like you're thinking like what kind of virgin like doesn't like kissing, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna like just stop cuddling, no physical contact, blah blah blah. I'm like, that's kind of, it's just weird like for a guy to say. And like months later, it was like our texts started getting slower, and it's like, you know, when it's over, when a guy stops saying good morning to you. So I was like, dude, like what's up, like you're slacking right now. And then he would be like, oh, like I didn't know I was required to say good morning to you. I'm like, you aren't, but it's like, it's still kind of weird because I'm like, you were trying to be my boyfriend like literally a week into meeting, yet you lack all the boyfriend qualities. And like, sure, he's never been a boyfriend before, but I'm like, dude, still know like the basic things of being, you know, in a relationship. And then just like stuff about him just like threw me off. Like we did this one thing, how he had to like answer questions, and then he was just giving like the wrong answers and everything. Like I asked him like if he would be cool with like a woman like breastfeeding in public, and he was like, oh no, that's disgusting, like she need to put that away, blah, it's not for the public to see. I'm like, if a baby needs feeding, you gotta feed it. And he was like, you feed it at home, blah blah blah, no one needs to see all that. I'm like, bro, like you're weird. And so like the vibes he was giving me was just weird like after that. And then like another question was like, he was saying he didn't like stretch marks, and I was like, dude, that's like a natural part of the human body, like what the heck. And then what else? Oh, he said like I asked him about like rape survivors and everything. Like he was like, yeah, like why can't they just come out and like say that they've been raped? Like why do they have to keep it a secret for 10 years, but like no one's gonna believe them? And I'm like, dude, like you got your little secret going on, you haven't told your family and all that stuff what happened to you. And he was like, but that's different, blah blah blah. I'm like, bro. Another topic I talked about with him was like the topic of like black men and like racism like still being like prevalent in America and everything. He was like, yeah, but it's not that bad as in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. And I was like, well, yeah, but racism still exists, like what are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, but like it never happened to me before. And I'm like just because something doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it's not happening, you know? And then because I was telling him how like I would like to be like with a black man that like understands this stuff, so like he can teach my kids that kind of stuff. And then he was like, well, police officers are never mean to me, like maybe they're doing something wrong. And I'm like, bro, like, you know, like, so like I'm glad that like we didn't date, because like I'm figuring out like all of this stuff about him, how he thinks about this stuff. So like it's just like little things, like after talking to someone, like the little things come out that you don't really like about them at all. Another thing that I left out was that like once we like agreed to be friends and everything, he was cool with it. So like this was right before quarantine happened and stuff. So like I was telling him I saw this guy like at the store, and I was like, oh yeah, I saw this guy at the store, he's kind of cute, blah blah blah, like I want to be friends with him, he seems like a cool guy. But like obviously I'm not just gonna like try and be friends with like someone that's like at the store or whatever. And he was like, oh, that's nice, you should go for it, you know, be his friend, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, you know, blah blah blah. Like it's like I wasn't even really serious about it, you know. And then so it's like the next day, like we say goodnight, and then the next day like I try to text him, and you know, like he doesn't respond, he doesn't answer my text until like a whole day later, and it's like midnight now. I'm like, dude, like what if something happened to him? And I'm like freaking out. Then like I go on all the apps. He blocked me on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, and I'm like what is happening? Okay. And then that's when I realized like, oh, like something didn't happen to him. Like he literally just blocked me on everything. And then so like after that, I literally drove to his house and rang his doorbell, and I was like, dude, like why did you block me? Like what is wrong with you? Like that's so immature and everything. And then he was telling me, he was like, oh well, it seemed like you were gonna be friends with that guy who worked at the store, and I figured, you know, once you become friends with him, you'll just forget about me because he'll be your new, you know, guy best friend. And I'm like, dude, that's not how it works, you know, because like people have like multiple female friends, they have multiple like guy friends, like there's no limit to having like just one guy friend and stuff. And he was like, yeah, but I knew you were gonna forget about me, so I just went ahead and like blocked myself and removed me from your life anyway. And I'm like, dude, like are you that insecure that like you think I'm gonna be friends with someone and just forget about you? Like, so that's when like just like all these red flags were just like coming up, and I'm like, wow, like this dude is really insecure. He like has no life. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to be your friend, like why are you blocking me, acting weird? So yeah, it always happens when you give ugly people a chance. Like I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but like, you know when somebody's ugly and when they're not, and they just think they can act up and stuff like that. And then there's just like so much like secrets and everything. Like I asked if he had like any other kind of friends, he was like, no, I don't have any friends at all, blah blah blah. And next thing you know, he's like on the game talking to like some girl like every night after he says goodnight to me. And I'm like that would be considered a friend if you like keep in contact with them and everything. And like he has people in his DMs, and apparently there's something called like PlayStation DMs where you can talk on there. And I was like, yeah, so you got friends. Like I literally have no friends, like no one in my messages, no one in my DMs that I like consistently talk to, who I would even consider a friend. So then he lied about that, and then it got to the point where he was lying about more stuff, and I'm like, dude, like what are you doing? And then there was like a point where we got in like an argument, and he was like, do you want to be friends or not, blah blah blah. He's like, I don't want to argue like this every day. But I'm like, dude, people in relationships argue every day. Like what are you talking about? And then so like that basically like proved to me that he couldn't handle a relationship, because I'm not trying to be like breaking up and getting back together and like doing that back and forth. And I was like, dang, like he is like super childish. I'm like, how are you older than me and you're super childish like this? But then we stayed friends, and then it's like months later, now it's like we're in quarantine. We've been in quarantine for like a month now or something, more than a month. And then the text just started getting slower. Then I was like, dude, like you're slacking like right now. Like if we were dating right now, like this is like really bad. Like, and then he was like, oh whatever, I've just been busy. And I'm like, how have you been busy when you don't go anywhere? Especially we're not supposed to be leaving the house right now. All he does is exercise, go on his laptop and play the game, and then eat. Like you don't have a life. Like how are you busy, you know? And then of course like people make time for who they want to talk to. Basically it was like a couple weeks ago, he just stopped responding to me, and I'm like, dude, like are we still friends or what? And he like never responded, and I was like, well, I guess you hate me. And then like he still didn't respond, so I was like, you know, like whatever, like I'm done talking to this kid. Like he has way too many issues for me to deal with. And like even like his stepbrother, like when I asked his stepbrother about it, like how he made like his brother do those things, and I was like, dude, like you're a creep. Like he's like, I'm not gay, blah blah blah, I'm a different person now. I'm like, if you're doing like creepy stuff like with your own family, like you're most likely still gonna have the urges like when you have your own family. So now I'm like worried for when this stupid guy like has his kids, what is he gonna make his kids do, you know? Like there's too many creeps in the world. So like in conclusion to this stupid story time that's now like I don't know how long, it was just like you just can't mess with like childish people. And like that's like this whole situation is like a situation like of toxic friendship. Like I know like I'm kind of bad, but like he's just like a terrible friend. And then you say like you need someone, like, oh, I need someone to talk to right now, especially when you're like depressed and stuff. He would just like not care, and I'm like, well, so like he's just super childish, and I'm like, I never get in a relationship with someone who's more childish like that. And it's just like too much baggage, and I'm like, how are you like single but you're already like damaged like this? I'm like, what the heck? And I don't know, I probably sound like super mean and like judgmental and stuff, but like I just hate people. And like this is why I don't have friends, because people always like switch up. Like 1 minute they're like, oh, I love you so much, blah blah blah, and like the next minute like they just ghost you out of nowhere. And like on his part, that's super pathetic and childish. Like if you want to stop talking to someone, that's when you say like, oh, I don't see this going anywhere, or oh, like during these quarantine times there's nothing really to talk about, so we should just stop talking, you know, like say something like that. Like man up, be the bigger person, and like actually say like, oh, like you want to stop being friends and stuff. And it's always like the ugly people that always do you wrong. Like you give them a chance and you're like, I feel sorry for you, like let me just give you a chance, but then it goes wrong. So let me know if you guys want another story time or whatever. Like people are annoying, and it's like you can't trust anyone these days. And like this is literally why our generation is like struggling in regards to this stuff. But yeah, let me know if you guys want another story time on a different kind of topic. I've been like super lazy editing these videos, but I'm gonna try. So also make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more videos.